probe gap voltage plots. As you people are aware, that there are quite a few other plots that typically when you're looking at the diagnosis of turbo machinery using online vibration analysis systems, you have a series of plots. Typically people who are aware of this one, they look at the orbit plots and then the full spectrum plots related to waterfall and cascade, and then the polar and Bode plots, and then comes these shaft center line plots. And these shaft center line plots are also very important information is provided in these thing. And the other one, which normally most of the people are not very much used to, is to look at the probe gap voltage trend plots. So there is a quite a wealth of information available here in these two plots there. And my session is basically focusing on how to capitalize the information that is presented in these graphs and do the analysis. And when you have those people who have attended these two programs on this rubbing and then the shaft and then the shaft crack analysis and then the rotor instability, invariably while doing those analysis, the analysts will go through the shaft center line plots also to understand how the shaft center was moving within the bearing while those rubbing events or the instability events are happening there. So, and this session is not, I'm not focusing on how the plots are configured and all that information. I'm only trying to discuss a few instances that help to understand and appreciate the application of these two diagnostic plots. And then I'm just picking up some I'm picking up some information from the case studies of some active where I have carried out, and then only that information relevant to these particular plots have been presented here. But you should understand while the analysis is being done, all the other plots, as I told you, the orbits, shafts and orbits, then the Bode plots, polar plots, all these type of plots have been considered in trying to get a complete understanding of the machine behavior. The general information, turbo machinery are often mounted on fluid film bearings. Proximity probes are installed on the bearings to record the shaft relative vibration within the bearing clearance. And then the turbo machinery vibration-based response fundamentally depends on the rotor, the bearing design, lubrication oil, the operating speed, and some other parameters as such. Those people who have not got any general information on the proximity probes, I'm trying to present a little the basic information. Proximity probes are mounted in this fashion there. Typically, wherever the space is available, they are mounted in this probe from the vertical axis 45 degrees right side and 45 degrees left side. Two probes are typically plotted there. One of them is called X and the other is called as the Y. And the proximity probes, what they do is they measure the shaft journal, that is the journal relative vibration within the bearing in terms of the probe gap voltage changes. So when the shaft is moving towards the probe, as seen this particular picture here, this is the probe tip with the coil is there. It basically generates a high frequency radio signal, and when the target material, the shaft, is coming within this vicinity there, it sets up some magnetic field, and the field strength varies depending upon the position of the shaft here. So as and when the shaft is changing its distance, the field strength varies, and then that is converted into the millivolts, and then the distance is measured in millivolts there. So the distance between the probe tip and the journal surface measured in millivolts and is converted into microns peak to peak. Basically the units, the initial measurement is in millivolts, and using the scale factor it will be converted into the microns there. So the proximity probes basically is looking at the gap voltage. That's what it is there. So when the gap voltage changes, it is basically indicates that there is a movement within the shaft. Now let us look at some conventions measurements. When machine is shut down condition, gap voltage between the probe tip and the journal surface is normally set to -10 volts. So when the probes are installed on the bearing, and then the gap, there is when the shaft is at rest position, the probe tip is adjusted to a distance that is equal to a voltage of -10 volts. Normally, this is the preferred number, but slightly it can be slightly vary, minus 9.5 or something like that, 9.5, something like that. But ideally, it should be around 10 volts there. So now if you are setting it at minus 10 volts, it corresponds to a good linear range for measurement of the probe distance. Now, after the machine is started, the journal lifts and moves to a position indicated by the rotor dynamics. If the journal moves closer to the probes, the gap voltage becomes more positive. If the shaft is moving towards the probe, we say that the voltage becoming more positive. It means that from the set voltage of minus 10, it may go to minus 9, minus 8, minus 7 like that. So minus 7, minus 8 are numbers which are bigger than the minus 10 there. That's why we are saying the voltage becomes more positive. So voltage becoming more positive means the shaft is moving towards the probe. And similarly, when the journal or the shaft moves away from the probes, the gap voltage becomes more negative. That is, the shaft is moving away from the probe. So it can change from minus 10 to minus 11, minus 12, etc. So this is the convention we should keep in mind when reading these two plots as such. So the same thing is depicted here. We see a journal at rest, and these are the two probes, and the gap is set to minus 10 volts here. So if you're reading the voltage coming out of these two probes, it corresponds to a minus 10 volts. And, depending on the probe calibration, this will correspond to a certain amount of distance. Now, once the machine starts and the journal lifts, the journal is lifting typically in the vertical direction, then it is moving towards the probes here. So ideally, the gap can change to minus 9 volts or something, which is suggesting that the shaft has moved towards the probe. And in this particular case, the shaft has moved, you see, slightly horizontally and left side vertically also. So in this case, the journal is lifted and moved by 1 volt upwards and in the Y probe and move from the X probe also. So here you can see that, so in this particular case, this probe has seen the shaft is moving away from there. So it is becoming a more negative. So minus 10, it changed to minus 11. And this fellow has moved towards the probe. So it changed from minus 10 to minus 9. So this is how the general motions or movements can happen there. This I'm trying to give you for those people who have little idea about how to read these proximity probes and their conventions, etc. Now we'll get into the actual, another important aspect I need to introduce you is the bearing circle, the bearings clearance circle. Here we are having a bearing, and the green circle is the bearing, and then this red dot is the bearing center, and this blue cylinder, this is the rotor, and then the yellow dot is the rotor center there. So now this is the bearing clearance, this is vertical clearance. So now if we lift this yellow dot and bring it on the top, when the shaft touches here, this will come to this point here. So if I'm riding this cylinder or this the shaft along the circle surface, so it covers the shaft center line covers this circle. So this circle and the diameter of the circle is equal to the clearance here, the vertical clearance there. So this circle is called as the bearing circle, the bearing clearance circle. So this is the circle which you will be trying to position on the shaft center line plot. And then within this bearing clearance circle, we will be identifying where the shaft center line is sitting, whether it is sitting in the normal position during normal operation or any abnormalities positions are there. So when a rubbing is happening, how did the shaft center line position change during the rubbing? Or when an instability is coming, how did the shaft center line position change with this? This is how we try to show it here. So the same thing is kept shown here. We have the two probes, and this black circle is the bearing clearance circle. And this is the bearing center. So at one point of time, the shaft center is here, and sitting here, it is trying to move in this circular orbit here. So the orbit is drawn, or this is the average center line movement at this location over there. So when you see the gap voltage, it primarily tells you where the shaft is sitting within the bearing, and the orbit will tell you at that location to what extent the motion it is executing within the bearing. So how do we use this shaft center line and gap voltage plots here? Basically, they are used to understand the movement of the journal within the available clearance during the startups, when the machine starts from 0 speed and gets into the operating speed, or during the shutdowns, when it is shutting down or the posting down, and also during diagnostics of abnormal vibration behavior events. That is when there's a misalignment happening, or the rubs are happening, and thermal variations are there on the machine, and any other transients like the high vibration trips. When these are happening, we will also try to find out how the shaft center line positions has been responding under these abnormal conditions. Now with this background, I'll try to show you 4 case informations, and the 3 are related to some trip incidents. During the trip incidents, we were trying to identify how the machine was behaving with respect to what type of information the shaft central line was projecting. And then there's one case study which will tell you, highlight the importance of having these online monitoring systems on your top tier critical machinery, and doing the analysis over a period of time. The data which we will be analyzing will be over a period of 3 years, how the shaft central lines have been moving and all those things. So this particular case, first case, is related to the failure of a non-driven bearing of an electrical motor which was driving a centrifugal fan. The brief information is this is of an FD fan of a utility boiler unit, and it was shut down for some bearing lube oil changes and then attending some miscellaneous maintenance activities. And after carrying out the planned maintenance activities, the FD fan was started, and within about 10 minutes, the motor NDE bearing vibrations and temperature have crossed the danger, and the equipment was manually stopped. Actually, there was no provision for automated trip, so the operator had to intervene and trip the machine. And so the vibration reached to about 180 microns, whereas the danger level is 100 microns. And then the bearing metal temperature touched around 200 degrees Celsius. Alarm is 100 degrees centigrade. So within 10 minutes, the machine has seen a drastic change in the vibrations. So the probe gap voltage trend plots and shaft length plots suggested a downward movement of the journal by about 1000 microns, suggesting severe damage to the Babbitt. Here, this picture will tell you the whole story of the event. So this is the speed trend. The motor started and ran for around 10-12 minutes, and then manually it was tripped. So during that time, this was when the machine started, the vibrations were normal for about some time, and then they started to increase, and then they increased, and slightly changes were that they were decreasing for some reason. And this is the time when, this is the incident when the trip was taken place. So see, this time the vibrations were changing here. Now, while this is the overall vibration trend, look at the gap voltage trend. So when the vibrations were normal here, the gap voltage trend was also normal here. Both the probes were showing same amount of movement here. And once this vibration started increasing, you can see that the gap voltages are becoming here. So now the gap voltages are becoming more negative. So on the axis, if you are seeing, from -10, it has gone to -15 or something like that. So the gap voltage is becoming more negative, means the shaft is traveling away from the probe surface, from the probe tip as such. And this is at the point of time when the trip took place. And after the trip also, if you see, there's practically the gap voltage is almost constant. Means actually, I think there is no real movement of the shaft by the time when the machine tripped, because the shaft is almost lying on the bearing bottom itself. And during that same time, you can see how the temperature has changed. And this is went up to 190 or 200 degrees. And then when the machine was finally tripped. So, and now let us look at, so this is the gap voltage plot, which you are seeing here. The gap voltage trend was normal as long as the vibrations were normal, and the vibrations started increasing. Then you can see that this change in the gap voltages becoming more negative. Now let us look at the shaft central line plot. So this is the shaft central line plot for the non-driven bearing of the motor, and this is the shaft central line for the driven bearing of the motor. Driven bearing is healthy, that's why. Now, this is the trend of the shaft central line movement within the bearing, not during tripping. See, from this point of, from this time it started, and as the vibration was increasing, this is how the gap voltage was changing when you have saw in that one, and the gap voltage is becoming more negative. The shaft is moving away from the probe there. And by the time the machine tripped at this point of time, during this instant of time, the shaft has traveled about 1000 microns downwards. Means actually it has basically wiping away the entire bearing as such. So this is how the shaft was moving. And at this point of time, the trip took place. So this trend is not the shutdown trend. Please understand, this is not the shutdown run. This is the shaft movement while the shaft is running. It was running at 1500 RPM and then eating away the bearing while it is going down there. And compare the shaft central line plot on the motor driven bearing at the same instant of time. You can see that there is practically no movement during the steady state operation of the motor. The shaft central line was lying at the same location where it was on the driven bearing. And on the non-driven bearing, you can clearly see that the shaft central was going down and it traveled by 1000 microns. So this is the way the story of the motor bearing is shown. Now, if you see This is the damaged bearing actually. So the bottom babbitt was totally removed, and it also traveled and got welded onto the top of the bearing as such also. So during that time, instant of time there. So now we are not getting into the details of what happened, what have RCFA and all those things. As I told you, my intention of this presentation is to highlight how the shaft centerline plots help us to diagnose the machinery problems. So this is about the first case study. Now let us look at the second one. This is about the motor seizure related to, there's a gas turbine through a helper motor. It's driving a centrifugal refrigeration compressor. I have not shown the compressor in the figure there because our interest is on basically the gas turbine and the drive helper motor. Helper motor bearing 4 and 5. This is the nomenclature which we have. The gas turbine and the helper motor are rigidly coupled. So the story is, the helper motor was running normally with vibrations less than 25-30 microns on both bearings, that is bore in 4 and 5. So the machine was normally performing. The gas turbine was running this helper motor through helper motor, the compressor was running, everything was fine. And at that instant of time, the vibrations were very normal, around 25-30 microns on both these bearings. And suddenly means actually it is not instantaneously, within 120 seconds, vibrations on both bearings, bearing 4 and 5, increased from this around 25-30 microns to 220 microns, and then the machine tripped. So once this machine trips, as per the trip logical, machine comes to 0 speed. And then actually what happens is it comes to 0 speed and lies there for a few minutes, maybe 10, if I remember, around 10 or 12 minutes before the machine put on cranking. So during the 10 minutes, because it comes to 0 speed, and this is a large turbine, it's a 120 megawatts gas turbine. So what happens is the rotor, a lot of heat input is there. When the rotor is lying idle for 10 minutes, there will be a thermal sag in the rotor. And then once the cranking is done, it will come to 450 RPM. The cranking will be done at 450 RPM. And after 35 minutes, the rotor will straighten away. So that was the normal thing. But in this particular case, when the operation tried to start the machine after the normal time, it did not start. So they made 3 attempts, and during this to put the GT on cranking for that the 450 RPM, but during all the 3 times, the machine tripped and did not. So during all the 3 attempts, the motor immediately tripped on high vibrations and even without rotating as such. Now let us see what the shaft centerline plots were telling us during this incident. So at the time of the high vibration event, so what I told you, it took around 120 seconds for the vibration to rise from 30 microns to 200 microns and trip the machine. So during that time, there is, if you look at the shaft centerline, this trend plot, it shows you there is a vertical lift of the journal within the bearings. And then at the time of the machine shutdown, it indicated the normal shutdown movement within the bearings. So there is a small movement, vertical movement when the vibrations were rising in the motor, and then after it tripped, it has a normal course down. So there were no abnormality indications here. At the time of the 3 start attempts, indicated significant abnormal horizontal movement of the journal in the bearings there. Now let us see here. This is actually the vibration trend of the 2 probes of the non-driven bearing, probe A and probe B. You can see. So this is how the vibrations were very low, and then the vibration started. Vibration started building up, and then they went up here. At this instant of them, the trip took place here. So as the vibrations were increasing here, this is one probe and the other probe. Here, this particular picture, I'm trying to show you how the vibration increased. And this is not a sudden increase. This is a gradual increase. It took around 120 seconds. Now let us see how the gap voltage was happening when the vibrations were increasing. So initially the gap voltage trend was like this one when the vibrations were normal, and then when the vibrations were increasing, the gap voltages were showing more positive. More positive means the shaft centerline is lifting up. So this happening on both bearings, both bearings 4 and 5. So during the trip, during the vibration increase in time, both the shaft centerlines, both the gap voltage trends are suggesting that the shaft lifted up. But now, so this is how it was trying to move like. If you look at the shaft centerline plots here, this shaft centerline plot, see this particular plot is taken in the configuration, we have just seen that incident only. So when the vibrations were increasing, there was only a slight movement here. Even the shaft has moved up. The shaft has moved up, but it is only around 10 or 15 microns, not a great distance, both the bearings. But they have traveled around 10, 15 microns within these bearings when the high vibration incident was happening. And this is the shutdown. When the machine tripped under, this is the shutdown, and this is a very normal course down. You can see both the probes are becoming more negative, means the shaft is traveling down and going down to the bottom of the bearing there. So even this movement is also quite normal there. So this shaft center line plot shows that this is a normal shutdown there. So these are tilting pad bearings. So the rotor has come down vertically down, and there's no abnormality here. This is the gap voltage trend again. You can see for both bearings. So this is when the machine tripped and came to rest. And then this is the time when the machine was at 0 speed. And because of the hot rotor, the rotor went up again there. So the gap voltage is slightly increased. Yeah, means the rotor has lifted within the bearings because of the thermal expansion that is happening at 0 speed. And then at this instant of time, operation started the machine. And then you can see that there is a sudden, but the gap voltage has changed like this. And then the machine tripped here. And after some time, the operation again gave us another start command. And then this is how the second start was there, same way. And they waited for some more time, and then they gave the third start command. But in all these cases, you can see that the gap voltages just change like this. So now let us look at a zoomed version of these gap voltages, and let us understand what could have happened. This is how. So this, I'm trying to show you now this particular incident, this gap voltage trend. I'm going to zoom it for you. This is how it is. So what happened was that we can see this, the orange line becoming more positive, means the shaft in this particular case is moving towards the more positive, means towards the probe, and this is going more away from the probe. So this one going towards the probe and one going away from the probe practically means that the rotor is traveling in the horizontal direction. The rotor is moving the horizontal direction. This is happening in both the cases. So when you gave the start command, then under normal circumstances, the motor would have started and came to 450 RPM, and then the machine would have been on the cranking speed. But now you can see that after the motor tripped on high vibration, you can see that the start is showing that the rotor did not rotate, and in fact, it has moved horizontally here. And the same movement happened during all the three starts. Now, if you look at the shaft center line plot, you see this is the shaft center line plot, and you can see that it is moving in a horizontal direction. The shaft center line was moving to the horizontal direction, and it was around 600 microns. This is a heavy movement there. Actually, the rotor got seized. Now, as I told you, we'll not get into the reasons for what happened on the motor and all those things, but the high vibration trip has led to, that was because of an electrical fault on the motor. So that led to the high vibration trip, and subsequently the motor was not able to rotate. And that's the reason when we gave the start command, so you can see that the motor did not rotate, but it was pulling horizontally on both bearings there. So this is shaft center line plot, and the gap voltage trend plots have really given a clear picture as to how the machine was behaving under these conditions there. This is about the case study 2. Now looking at the case study 3 here, I think I have already finished 30 minutes. Let me make another 10 minutes, I think. Slides okay.
Hello, hello, Mr. Gadd. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, take your time, no problem.
Okay, right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm now getting you the case 3. The case 3 also the similar machine with a gas turbine and helper motor in this configuration there. And now this is related to the alignment changes. Now this is, as I told you, this gas turbine is a huge machine, 120 megawatts gas turbine, and this is a helper motor, also a big heavy motor, 45 megawatts one. And these two are driving a centrifugal compressor, the refrigeration compressor over there. So in this particular case, what happened was the alignment, the vibrations were changing on this bearing 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And this machine had some chronic other history as such with respect to the bearing, high vibrations and all that I'm not presenting it to you. But from interest point of view, to show how the shaft center line movements were happening were almost 24 months data is shown to you, and see how the trends are there. That is of interest for us. The time considered for this presentation is from October 2014 to August 2016, around 24 months time is there. So basically the GT bearing 1 vibration was varying between 40 to 70 microns, and the gap voltage trend is suggesting horizontal movement of the shaft in the bearing, or alternatively the bearing housing moving horizontally to and fro about by 50 microns. So this is a relative motion there. So this is considered to be abnormal and suggests high sensitivity of the bearing pedestal with ambient temperature and other related process parameters. And shaft center line plots and trend plots are presented to highlight this behavior. Now you will see that. So basically there is certain movement, relative movement happening in the bearing 1 there. And then I have presented the other 2 bearings also, bearing 4 and 5. This is related to the helper motor. They were also exhibiting some different behavior, a behavior different to what bearing 1 is showing. Let us see what they are there. This is the gas turbine bearing 1 gap voltage and vibration trend for this period here. So this is the vibration trend. So both probes, overall vibration and 1x vibration is shown here. And then you can see that this is the gap voltage trend. This is a very a strange way of behavior. You can see that at this, from this instant of time, if you are trying to read this one probe is becoming more positive, more negative. And another probe is becoming more positive over a period of time. And at certain time, then they are becoming more, this is becoming more negative, and this is making like this one here. So this is basically, and this is, as I told you, this is over a period of 24 months as such. And during this time also, if you are seeing the vibrations are also following like this one here. If you see this way, it is coming down and increasing, and then coming down and then increasing there. So this is what is basically, so significant gap change suggests that relative movement of the journal and bearing assembly is happening here. Now, this is the gap voltage trend. Let us see what the shaft central line is trying to predict this one. So the shaft central line is actually moving here in this fashion here during that entire period. So now what I did was, in order to, I broke it into 3 or 4 periods and see how the shaft central line was moving. This is the shaft central line movement for the entire period of this data. Now, when looking it from October 2014 to April 2015, during this time, the shaft was migrating from this from the left towards left side, towards the bearing center there. Okay, and then for the next, from April 2015 to July 2015, within these few months, it started from the center, it came towards the right side. And then from July 2015 to August 2016, it was going back again. So this is how the shaft central line was migrating, moving to and fro like this one. This is bearing 1. So in order to explain this clearly, I have given you the 3 different plots, the same one broken into 3 different plots as such. So this is how it is. This is again showing you some pictures about the orbit also. Bearing 1, the same one which you have seen at different conditions. So these are the orbits at different positions. And you can also see that the orbit sizes are slightly changing, and also the shape is slightly changing. In fact, it is showing a preloaded orbit here, but you can see that one. And during the same period, bearing 3, GT bearing 3 is showing you a different orbits, and here it is showing a very highly preloaded orbit here. Then if you go to the other one, bearing 4, this is the helper motor. So this is on the other side of the coupling. It's a rigid coupling, it's on the other side of the coupling. And these 2 bearings are showing same behavior. Initially, the shaft central line was almost at the bottom of the bearing. And within these 24 months, it started lifting up over a period of time. It is moving towards up there. In both cases, the shaft within these 2 bearings is trying to lift up, whereas the shaft on the bearing 1 is trying to move horizontally. So there is a significant movement that is happening in the entire machine train. And if you look at the orbits also for the bearing 4, you can see how the orbits are changing over a period of time. And at the last instant of time, you can see that This is a very highly preloaded orbit here on both this thing, and this is becoming basically getting converted into 8 here. So if you see the normal base, this orbit is getting into converted 8 here, suggesting a lot of alignment changes that are happening on this one there. So ultimately, when the machine was stopped and then the machine was out of alignment, I don't remember how much values and all that, but they realigned the machine. So this is how the story of the machine, and this is how the shaft center line plots. If you only look at the vibration, overall vibration plot, and then the spectrum and all those things, and trying to look for 1x and 2x, for turbo machinery, those are not the plots to judge the alignment conditions. You need to look at the shaft center line movements and the gap voltages, how they are moving and all that. They try to give you a good picture about what is happening on the machine as such. So this is the gap voltage trend, and then the vibrations for the bearing 4. You can see that the gap voltages were gradually increasing there, showing that the shaft is moving up. And this is for the other bearing number 5. Here also you can see that, and you see how it is cyclical varying. It is varying like this one here. I just shown you how to show that these dotted lines to show you the general increasing trend, but it is also trying to behave with the seasonal way. So the ambience is also, ambient temperatures are also having certain influence on the rotor and the housing bearing movements as such. And this is how the shaft center line was actually moving. 4 and 5 bearing centers were moving within those periods there. So this is about this helper motor where the alignment was changing, and then the vibrations were reflecting on the changing behavior of the rotor positions there. And then the reasons for all these things, as I told you, this is not the story for us to discuss, but you can understand the importance of these plots. See how much of wealth of information these plots are helping us when you are looking at the historical information. Now, finally, we come to the last case. This is about the coast down behavior. So this is an equipment, is an electrical motor driven compressor through a speed increaser gearbox. And due to some process disturbance, the compressor surged and tripped on high vibration. And the online vibration data evaluation indicated some abnormal behavior of the compressor rotor during the coast down. Just I'm trying to highlight you, just see how the behavior of the compressor was there, looking at the shaft center line plot. So this is the actual equipment. You have the, this is the compressor. This is a gearbox driven by the electrical motor there. And this runs at around 13,700 RPM compressor. The motor is a 1500 RPM motor. So this is the shutdown plots of these two compressor non-drive-in bearing and drive-in bearing. I'm trying to give you a pictorial presentation of this one. So you see how the shaft center line was moving. After once the machine command is, once the machine was having the surging and it was coasting down, you can see that one bearing is showing movement in one direction. The other bearing is like a mirror image of the movement of the other one there. You can see that the shaft center line plots are just like a mirror images there. So they are trying to move in the opposite direction for some time, and then after certain speed, say for an example around 3000 around 6000 RPM, they started coasting down the normal way. These are tilting pad bearings. So when you have the tilting pad bearings, the shaft center line is expected to come vertically, move in the vertical direction here. So initially it moved to left, then came down vertically, and then moved to right, and then like this here. So the movement of the shaft center line in the other bearing is a mirror image of what is happening here. So this is definitely an abnormal movement. Ideally, the movement should have come like this one. This is how the drive motor bearings shaft center line position during the shutdown of the condition there. You can see that there is a straight drop in vertical motion with the bore bearing. So this is how I expect the compressor to move like this. But the compressor was showing some abnormal movement like this here. Now, if you look at the gap voltage here, see the gap voltage also, it is showing you here at this point of time, this is becoming more positive and then more negative and then something like this one here. Now, if you try to analyze this one, look at the condition 1 here. So during the 1 condition, the shaft was moving towards right side. So look at 1 here, look at this picture here, and look at this actual shaft center line movement here. So during the shutdown condition, under the position of the 1, the shaft is moving from left to right, and you can see the shaft center line moving here in the condition here. Sorry, this is the one condition here. Then during the second condition, it came it slightly moved to the left side again. So that's how the shaft central line motion was moving to the left side, and the gap voltage trends are also showing that the shaft central line is moving towards left side. And from then onwards, it has a normal post down. So from then onwards, it had a normal post down. That is your point number 3 as such there. So this is how the shaft central line plot can be converted into a gap voltage plot, and the gap, they are presenting the same information, but that, so one is presenting the data in one way and the other in that way. So they are basically, they're complementary to each other. But this is good information because most of the people are used to look at the shaft central line plots only. Most of them are not accustomed to use these gap voltage trends as such. Actually, I did not have time to present. I did not make, there are quite a few cases where the bearing damages were also indicated. The gradual damages were also indicated in the gap voltage trends as such there. So with these presentations, I'm trying to impress you upon the importance of the shaft central line plot and the gap voltage trend plots in diagnosing the machine conditions. And also when a rub is happening, when an instability is happening, when the shaft cracks are happening, you need to understand these plots also, how these plots are helping us to visualize those events as such there. So a real good diagnostic person will try to compile all this information and not like to look at, draw a conclusion from looking at one or two plots. Ideally, sometimes the plot, the problem could be definitely identified by looking at one or two plots, but it is always better to try to see the other plots also and see whether they are trying to say the same information or they are trying to give any other different picture there. So that will definitely add value to your diagnosis as such. So gentlemen, this is what I would like to present for all. Thank you all for attending the webinar, and it's for your patient hearing. And
thank you very much.
Pleasure to.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. It was really a very good presentation. I got lots of good feedback on the chat. Thank you so much for this. And also I got a few questions. I copied all these questions and I will send it to Mr. Ganti later on so he can have a look on it. And all these questions will be answered and posted on LinkedIn as a feedback on the conference. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Ganti, for take from your precious time and valuable time and help us with this conference, and we're looking forward to see you in the coming one as well. Thanks for all the audience and all the participants, and we should see you within like 15 minutes on the coming presentation. And yeah, nice to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Salah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.